This is the Vivo V20 SE. Like the name suggests, it is a special edition of the Vivo V20 that I reviewed last month. And just like the original model, this too focuses on cameras and design. But there is a difference here, and this is priced slightly lower, which means that it has gone through some cost cutting. So you get lower resolution cameras and a different processor. But has Vivo gone too far, or this is truly special? Well, we're about to find out. Hello everyone. You're watching Gadgets 360, I'm Aditya Shenoy, and this is the full review of the Vivo V20 SE. The Vivo V20 SE is quite a looker. At the front, the phone houses a 6.44-inch AMOLED display with Full HD Plus resolution. Over at the rear, the camera module sits on the top left corner and is slightly raised. As for the internals, you get a Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 SoC. There's a single variant of this phone where you get 8GB of RAM coupled with 128GB of storage. It also gets a 4100 mAh battery under the hood, which is capable of 33-watt fast charging using the supplied flash charger in the box. Well, these were some of the highlighting features of the Vivo V20 SE. Now that that's out of the way, let's deep dive straight into the cameras. There are 3 cameras at the back, and I know that the trend is for quad cameras, but Vivo has that covered. You get a 48 megapixel primary camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that is also capable of macro photography, and a 2 megapixel bokeh camera. The camera app on the V20 SE looks very familiar and it's super easy to use. There is AI enabled by default, which helps recognize what you're shooting, and it also suggests different modes that you can choose to shoot from. There's also this new feature called AI image matting, which is available in the gallery, which lets you edit your photos really easily. So you can change the color of the sky or even add a motion effect to it, which kind of looks cool. But that said, let's take a look at the camera samples now. In daylight, I was able to take decent photos with good details on objects even at a distance. And while shooting outdoors under bright conditions, the V20 SE was quick to enable HDR. Switching to the wide-angle camera offers a wider field of view, but at the cost of details. Objects at a distance weren't as crisp as they appeared in photos clicked with the primary camera, and also there is visible distortion at the edges. Close-ups turned out really well, and the phone managed to capture a sharp image. It also adds a soft bokeh effect to the background. Portrait shots turned out well with a steady subject, and the output had good edge detection. The V20 SE uses the wide-angle camera for macro shots and lets you go super close to the subject. I like this approach since you get good functionality without adding another sensor and a higher resolution output. The low-light camera performance is average overall. The V20 SE managed to keep noise under control, but the image appears smoothened and objects at a distance have a watercolor-like effect. Enabling night mode results in a slightly brighter image with better detail, but it takes about 3 to 4 seconds to process a shot taken with night mode. Video recording tops out at 4K for the primary camera without stabilization. However, you do get stabilization with footage shot at 1080p. In low light, there was a visible shimmer effect in the output at 1080p, while 4K footage wasn't stabilized. Now that you have seen the samples of the V20 SE, what do you think about it? Drop in your verdict in the comments down below. Well, I think for a smartphone that's priced at 20,990 rupees, the camera performance is acceptable. Now, if you are enjoying this video so far, do hit that like button and share this video with your friends so that they know a little bit more about the V20 SE. And if you're new here, be sure you are subscribed to the Gadgets 360 YouTube channel and click on that bell icon so that you're the first to know when we drop new reviews. Being a V series smartphone from Vivo, how can we go ahead without talking about selfies? The V20 SE gets a 32 megapixel snapper at the front. Now, selfies taken in daylight as well as low light turned out good. You can click portrait shots using the selfie camera, and the V20 SE blurs out the background accordingly. Beautification is enabled by default, which smoothens the output. In low light, it uses a screen flash that Vivo calls Aura Screen Light, which does help click a brighter image. The large AMOLED display looks great and has an in-display fingerprint sensor. The display has good viewing angles and it gets bright enough when outdoors. You also get the option to tweak the color output and change the color temperature of the panel. Well, to be honest, the display is really good, but I cannot say the exact same thing about the performance. While using the smartphone in general, I did not notice any lag and multitasking was a breeze thanks to 8 GB of RAM on board. However, the performance is noticeably lower when playing heavy titles such as Call of Duty. I noticed longer load times and the game ran with graphics and frame rate set to medium by default. But yeah, casual games did not face any issues and titles such as Among Us ran without any issues. While you get decent amount of RAM and storage on the V20 SE, the processor isn't really good when it comes to performance. As a matter of fact, this particular processor, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 665, well, I've seen it powering devices such as the Narzo 20A and the Nokia 5.3, which are a lot more affordable than the V20 SE. One more hiccup with the V20 SE is the software. You see, unlike the Vivo V20, the V20 SE does not run Android 11 out of the box, but runs Android 10 instead. Well, the good thing is that this phone runs FunTouch OS 11, and Vivo has promised that it will be rolling out Android 11 to the smartphone really soon. The UI looks a lot like the one on the Vivo V20 and you do get some bloatware pre-installed. I found Facebook, Flipkart, PhonePe, Snapchat and Spotify to come pre-installed on the device. Now, Vivo also has a V App Store installed, which is an alternative to the Play Store. Besides, you also get a Themes app that lets you customize the UI right down to the fonts. Speaking of customizations, the Vivo V20 SE also lets you customize different animations, such as the one for charging and for unlocking the device. You can also take full advantage of that AMOLED panel and enable always on display. Battery life on the V20 SE is decent and the phone went on for about a day and a half without me rushing for a charger. In our HD video loop test, the V20 SE went on for 14 hours and 31 minutes, which is about the same as the Vivo V20. As for charging, the phone was able to charge quickly to about 96% in an hour with the supplied 33-watt fast charger. The Vivo V20 SE should have ideally been called the V20 Lite, considering that Vivo has watered down the specifications to target a lower price point. Just like the Vivo V20, this phone too focuses on design and cameras. So if you are looking for decent camera performance around the 20,000 rupee price point, the Vivo V20 SE can offer you that. But if you are looking for a well-rounded smartphone, then the V20 SE isn't one. The weaker Snapdragon 665 processor cannot handle heavy games, which means that if you are looking for a performer, the Vivo V20 SE isn't the one for you. Instead, what you should look at is the Realme 7 Pro and the Poco X3 instead. And that was my review of the V20 SE. Now, what do you think about the smartphone? Let me know that in the comments down below. And as always, for all things tech, stay tuned to gadgets360.com.